Hello, my fellow Kiowas. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Steve Geronimo Hopkins. I am a Kiowa KIC member, and I am the speaker for the Kiowa Tribe of North America General Council Assembled Standing. We are the majority of the Kiowa KIC. I wanted to let you know that earlier this evening, on the 23rd, I attended a meeting that was held by Matt Komalty, Tommy Leader, and this group, this so-called group called Concerned Kiowa Grandmas. Grandmothers, grandmas, I don't know, but it's Concerned Kiowa Grandmothers, something to that effect. Not sure exactly what that is, but I believe it's just a small group of Kiowa elder women that have been trying to help Matt Komalty and the other tribal members that are claiming to have been elected in a December 2013 election to our Kiowa Business Committee, which is not recognized by any of the KIC except for their small group, their own small group. And it's definitely not recognized by the BIA to be given any kind of funds for our 638 programs. So there's letters out there that state that already. It's not that we need any kind of recognition from the BIA to say who we can and can't have leading our tribe, but they are not going to recognize them to give them the funds to run the 638 programs. And that's a very important issue because we have too many people that are in need of those programs, and we can't go without. You see the turmoil that we're in already because of the situation and the 638 programs that are going on right now. Now, I have some great concern because at this meeting, first off, when we were told about the meeting, when we were finally told about the meeting that they were holding, when I got there, they were already having their meeting. I asked a participant in the audience, how long they have been meeting, and he had told me since 5:30. And that they had a pre-meeting. We were told that the meeting was going to be at 6 o'clock. So they're sneaky, doing things without transparency. That's another issue that we have to deal with. But I wanted to let you all know that their main focused on two different issues, two different actions that they're trying to take. And one is to take a hostile takeover of the Kiowa complex, and that right there risk physical violence. The second is, once they get into the complex, they're seeking funds, seeking money, but they have no plan. Anybody can go and take over the complex. Anybody can get a group of people together and go take over the complex. That's not a hard thing to do. You want to be violent. You want to get physical. You want to risk somebody being hurt. But there's a better way to do things. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. But there's a better way to do it. And they're not going to listen. This group is not going to listen. They don't want to hear it. They're dead set on going in there and trying to take over the complex. I tried to explain to them that they have to have a plan for what they're going to do after they take over the complex. They have absolutely no clue what they're going to do. Talking about going in and taking over the complex, shutting it down completely. And we can't do that because there has to be some type of assistance coming to the people that need it. We have elders that need medicines, glasses, wheelchairs, air conditioners when it's hot, repairs on their homes. We have children that need things. We have tribal members that need assistance. And we can't afford to have things shut down. That's like the federal government shutting down and nobody getting their Social Security. You know, big danger to the people. And they're not thinking about the people. In fact, they're leaving all of you Kiowa tribal members that live afar, they're leaving you out. They're forgetting about you. They don't care about you. You know, they're only worried about their little group of people that live right there close to the home front. You know, that same way they did when they tried to hold that so-called election they think they've been elected in, that nobody recognizes except for them and their little group. 199 votes. 199 votes. That's not going to do it. No, it's not going to do it. I mentioned that, and they sit there and they bring up the fact, well, our Constitution doesn't state a certain number of voters that need to participate in an election. No, it doesn't. I agree with you. Totally agree with that. But when you hold an election, there's a process that you have to go by. That's why the election board, when there was an election board, there's something that you call the election board ordinances. Those are the steps that you have to take, the rules that you have to play the game by. And that means when you have enrolled KIC voting members, you have to make sure that they are given the opportunity to participate in that vote, participate in that election. That means all of those that live afar, that are registered voters, they need to be given an absentee ballot. Now I asked, how did you verify anything that had to do with that election? Because you didn't have the proper tools to do that. And I was told that they went to the companies that own the ballot machines that we used in our last election and went from a list that they had from those machines. We cannot accept that as KIC members. That's too dangerous. First off, that list is in the hands of an outside entity and can very well be jeopardized. So we can't trust that. We cannot go by that. How do I know that it was enrolled, registered voting members that voted them into their position that they say that they were voted into? Out of the 199 people they claim to have been voted in by, how many of them were registered Kiowa voters? I don't know. They don't know. They couldn't tell you. I can't tell you. Nobody can tell you. There's no way to verify it. They can't even verify if these people were, you know, Kiowa members. Now, the purpose of their meeting was to plan this hostile takeover and to be given suggestions or be put on a right path or something, or shown a way to get their hands on or, you know, get their hands on money, what to do after they take over the complex, because they have no clue, no plan, no idea. They don't even know what they're going to do. Just take over the complex, you know, and say, hey, I'm chairman. My name's Matt Komalty and I'm chairman. We took over the complex. That's not how it works. You know, you have to be recognized by the majority of the KIC, and 199 votes that can't be verified isn't going to do that. Even the BIA doesn't recognize that election or those members to be elected members of a KBC. And I'm not talking about recognition for who we say can lead our tribe. I'm talking about recognition to disperse those funds for the 638 programs that gives our tribal members the assistance that they need. But no, they're focused on just taking over the complex and getting their hands on some funds. Funds, why do they need hands on their funds when they don't even have a plan? What are they going to do with those funds? What are they going to do with those funds? Not one time did they talk about anything that would make any kind of corrections to the issues that are allowing these problems to be caused, allowing these problems to happen. You know, I mentioned things like that. I mentioned, what about the Constitution and amending the Constitution? You know, when I talk about that, guess what? They accuse me of wanting to tamper with the Constitution and change things. And they say, I like it just the way that it is. Well, that's why we're having the problems that we're having. You know, because this Constitution is a failure. I'm not saying change the whole thing, and I definitely do not go along with that Constitution revision group. That group can go and try to revise and bring any Constitution they want in, but the bottom line is that it's going to be you, the KIC, that has a say over that. But not one time did they mention anything to make any kind of corrections to the issues that are causing the problems that we're having today. One of the biggest issues is our recall. We have so many frivolous recalls. And I hate to say it, but that's a part of the Constitution that needs to be amended. And if you feel that that's an issue, and everybody knows that that is a huge issue, because somebody gets elected and they get in there, just like this past group, you know, back in a meeting that we had, Chairman Two Hatchet sat there and was trying to explain, give an answer to a question that I asked, and he was telling me that this group, Amber Topaw, and then they get elected into office, and it wasn't 25 days, just 25 days, and somebody slapped a recall on them. Well, that wasn't a frivolous recall, though. But it happens like that. People get elected, they get recalled. Bam, there's a recall because somebody doesn't like them. You know? That needs to be amended. It needs to change. The way that we deal with those recalls need to change so we don't have all the frivolous recalls. That's called protection. That's called a safeguard. You know, it's one of those things that needs to be done. But they don't have a plan. Matt Komalty has no plan. Matt Komalty is not a leader. Matt Komalty has no idea what he's doing, and he still seeks answers and approval from outside entities. Has no clue what tribal sovereignty is. I try to explain to them, you know, just like I do to all of you. Our battle is not with Amber Topaw and her posse. Our battle is not with any other Kiowa group or Kiowa tribal member. Our battle is with the federal government. We are citizens of the United States. We are supposed to have equal protections and due process of the law under the Constitution of the United States, just like any other citizen of the United States. Native Indians paid the federal government with more than 740 million acres of land. 740 million acres of land. We paid for those protections. We paid for that due process. We paid for our equality as citizens of the United States. We are the only nationality that has paid in advance and has paid anything like that for those equal protections and due process of the law under the Constitution of the United States. You have African Americans. They stand up for theirs, and they got theirs. We have an African American president of the United States today because of it. Mexicans, they're getting theirs. All these other foreigners that come over here, they go and they take a test and they become citizens of the United States. Then they're subsidized by the federal government to go and open up some businesses that they own. They actually get paid to own these businesses and run them. We don't get anything as Native Indians. We get absolutely nothing. And it's because we don't stand up. We don't stand up for our rights. When I mention this, that our battle is with the federal government, Matt Komalty and this group try to turn the tables. And they try to say, we don't want to pick a fight with the federal government. No, we don't want to pick a fight with the federal government. I'm too scared to do that. No, we don't need to do that. We're trying to work with the federal government to get money from them. Don't want to pick no fight with them. Robert Hatfield, he comes out there and he says, no, we don't want to pick a fight with the federal government. In fact, I'd like to take a stick of butter and grease up those people at the BIA, and maybe they'll give us some money. You grease them up with that stick of butter. Let me tell you what you can do with that stick of butter. You know what I mean? Because I don't really know what that means. Grease these people up with a stick of butter and think they're going to give you some money. That's not how things work. That's not how we do things. That's not how we protect ourselves. It is the Kiowa people that are the governing body of the tribe. It is the Kiowa tribe of North America General Council assembled standing that is the majority. And we are the power. And we are going to stand up and we are going to exercise our rights of tribal sovereignty. That's something that Matt Komalty has no clue of what tribal sovereignty is. Anybody that is in his group has no clue about tribal sovereignty. They don't know how it works. They don't understand. They think it's picking a fight with the government that they're afraid to do. And I have to tell them, you know what? You're not picking a fight with the federal government. You are already in a fight with the federal government. A fight that has been picked with you. And I'm going to tell you people, you need to stand up and you need to fight back. You need to stand up and fight back. It's time to protect your families. It's time to protect your wives, protect your children, protect your elders, protect the Kiowa people as a whole, and protect your future as the Kiowa people that we know today. Protect your water rights, your land rights, your mineral rights. Everything that rightfully belongs to the Kiowa people as a whole, you need to stand up and start fighting for. That's what your elders, your ancestors stood up and fought for. They died for it, to hand it down to you. Not just so you can go and let somebody squander it off and steal it from you. They're not only taking that from you, but they're taking your voices and they're taking your rights. And you need to stand up and you need to fight. Talk, 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 talk. That doesn't do squat. You got to walk that. You got to walk that walk. Walk the walk that you talk. Every time that I gave a suggestion of something that this group could do that the majority of the KIC would agree with, they shot it down. Everybody knows one of my main goals is to bring our own court of law. We need a way to hold people accountable for their own actions. And a constitution might be law, but it's not the kind of law that holds people accountable. You look at the Constitution basically like you do a Monopoly game that has rules. Rules that you play the game by. The law of the game. That's what the Constitution is. It's rules that you go by. And when you break those rules, sadly to say, if you don't have a court of law to hold those people that break the rules accountable, all you do is get taken out of the game. And the game continues. And the rules continue to be broken. And nobody has to abide by them because they're in a land of lawlessness. And they're not going to get in trouble. They're not going to be held accountable for their own actions. And we can't allow that to continue to happen like that. I mention things to them over and over, and all they want to do is make fun. And then it's like their focus changed from anything that they had on their agenda, whatever that was, their agenda. Because all I seen was two things: take over the complex and get money. Take over the complex, get money from the casino, or get money from the BIA. I guess they got a big stick of butter. I don't know. I don't know how they plan on doing that. And really, I didn't hear any plan because they just have no plan. They flat out sit there and said they have no plan. They don't know what they're doing. They just want to take over the complex and say, hey, my name's Matt Komalty, and I'm the Kiowa chairman. We took over the complex. We're going to grease up these people with this butter and get some money. That's not how it works. That's not good. Well, I'm here to tell you, as Speaker of the Kiowa Tribe of North America General Council assembled standing, that group gets absolutely no support from the Kiowa Tribe of North America General Council assembled standing. There is no way that we will support them. Now, we're sitting there talking about some very serious issues. And when I bring things up to them, they're sitting there smirking, laughing. Made me feel like they were making fun of me. I'm sitting here trying to protect all of you. I'm sitting here trying to protect everything that rightfully belongs to all of us as a whole. I'm sitting here trying to protect our future as the Kiowa people. And not one time did they mention anything about doing that. Not one time. In fact, they flat out said they don't care about those people that live afar. They don't care about those Kiowas that live afar. They're only worried about those few that they were able to reach right there at home, their friends and their family. 199 votes got them in there, they say. They didn't care about you that might be registered and should have been able to participate in that vote. Because what they say is the Kiowa Constitution doesn't state how many people have to participate in a vote for the election to be a legal election. I agree. They're right. They're right. That Kiowa Constitution does not state that. There is no specific amount of voters required for a vote to be legal. But there's a process when an election is held that has to be taken. And there's a thing called equality. And in that process, that means any registered voter, whether you live around the home front or whether you live afar, you have to be given the opportunity to take part in that election or take part as a voter in that election. And they are responsible for getting an absentee ballot out there to all you members that live afar if you are a registered Kiowa voter. Now, Aileen Woodard is the one that keeps bringing up the fact that the Constitution doesn't state that there's any specific number of voters required to make an election legal. But I asked her because when they took over Complex a couple years back and they were able to get in there for one day, and when they got in there, they opened up the phone lines and they got on Facebook and they told everybody, hey, you've got the phone lines open, call in, get registered. We need people to register. You know what? I was the first one, the very first one to call in. I was the very first one to call in. And I spoke with Aileen on that phone, and I verified with her that I was still a registered voter, a registered absentee voter, and made sure that they had my address. I even posted my address out there on Facebook so they would know, because Facebook just so happens to be, people want to make fun of that Facebook now. They want to sit there and say, well, Facebook doesn't do it. You know what? Facebook happens to be a very good tool that we have to be able to communicate with each other way better than what we've ever been able to communicate with anybody, you know. And all of us tribal members that are able to get online, it's a way for us to communicate with them. It's a way for us to reach them. So don't diss the Facebook, because it helps and it's working for us. So I was the very first one, and Elaine Woodard verified it right there in their own meeting. Yeah, I called. She verified that. But guess what? Where'd my ballot? Where'd my ballot go? I didn't get a ballot to vote in this so-called election, and I don't think I would have voted for Matt Komalty. I don't think I would have voted for any of them, especially Gene Quitone. They want to sit there and talk about that. You know, Gene Quitone being on this so-called KBC with them. You know, hey, that's not proper. We all know that. They know that themselves. He can't be on nothing like that. And then somebody up there sitting next to Aileen wants to yell out, Gene Quitone was cleared by the OSBI. Gene Quitone was cleared by the OSBI. Well, since when has the OSBI been the governing body of the Kiowa tribe? Since when has the OSBI had any say with what the Kiowa tribe does? You know? So all these little things that they're bringing up, they're just petty. And it's the same thing that Amber Topaw and her posse is doing. All these stupid little arguments that keeps the tribe in a mud hole, spinning their wheels, and they can't get out. Bottom line is, this group gets no support. This group is a danger. This group has no clue what they're doing. They don't even have a plan. And if they don't have a plan, they don't need to be trying to get in there and take any kind of position that they know good and well they haven't been elected in. So they're planning to take over, a hostile takeover of the complex. You know, it's going to be sometime between now and quite possibly during the April 4th KIC meeting. You know, but once they get in there, they don't know what they're going to do after that. I hear Amber Topaw and them, they got like 16 family members that they've hired for security. Sapatals, you know. 16 all come running when they get called. They all come running up there with their stun guns. So then this group here, you know, they're trying to figure out, well, how can they counteract? You know, how can they keep the peace? And I think what they were doing by calling this meeting, because it's not like they wanted to listen to any tribal member that was going to give them any kind of assistance and solutions or direction to what they needed to be doing, how they needed to be doing anything. You know, because every time I did that, they wanted to sit there and make fun of me and tell me, oh, Mr. Know-It-All here. Mr. Know-It-All's got all the answers. No, I never tried to act like I got all the answers, but the problem is, you don't give any answer that I give you a chance. You know, anytime I've given any kind of suggestion, I got shot down right off the bat, just get shot down. So they don't want that. It's just like the Kiowa Solutions group that was on Facebook, you know, sitting there telling all the Kiowa tribal members, any Kiowa tribal member is welcome to come in and help us resolve these issues and give your opinion, and you know, but when you do that, they attack you. Personal attacks they make against you, and they shoot you down. You know, I don't know if it's a way for them to see what they're going to be up against, or what. I don't know what that's about. But I know it's not right. I know it's not right. They're doing the same thing. This group's doing the same thing, though. But I have to tell you, they had AIM. American Indian Movement. They had AIM present there, asking for their assistance. So AIM, they say that they have people that can help work security with them when they go in to take over the complex, and assist them in that way. And after doing a little bit of research, and sharpening up on how this all works and everything, speaking with the Kiowa Tribe's Attorney General, sad to say, because I am a part. I want to feel like, I hope that I am, because I participate and assist. Just not too long ago, I was protesting the subway for the racial discrimination deal that they were having, and I was out there picketing, and I was representing the Kiowa Tribe, of course, because it's all about Native Indians, so I hope to think that I'm a part of that, and I'd like to stay a part of that. But sadly, I must make everybody aware that AIM, if you want to get involved in any kind of action that is taken by the Kiowa General Council, the Kiowa Indian Council, you must be a Kiowa tribal member. So unless you have Kiowa tribal members, you are not allowed to do that. So I'm not trying to, argue with you or anything like that, but that's just how it is. You must be a Kiowa Indian Council member to participate in any actions taken by a Kiowa Indian Council. So there's a few things that need to be made clear, but anyway, I wanted to make this video real quick to kind of give you a little heads up about what their meeting was about, which was nothing but taking over doing a hostile takeover of the Kiowa complex, and then trying to get money from either the casino or the BIA with their stick of butter. Absolutely no concern of any of those issues that are allowing all these problems to happen in the first place. No way to correct anything. They didn't have anything like that on their mind. They didn't want to talk about anything like that. Worried about the time that they have for their meeting. It seemed like I'm sitting there talking, and Matt Komalty sees somebody raise their hand over here, interrupts me, and starts letting them ask their question. Or somebody over here that raises their hand, interrupts me, and starts letting them ask their questions. I don't get to finish. There's a reason for that, and I've made everybody aware from the get-go. Almost 6 years now I've been doing this, and I've talked to the people, and we have become the majority. We are the Kiowa Tribe of North America General Council assembled standing, and we are the majority of the governing body of the Kiowa Tribe. We are an extension of the Kiowa tribal members, the KIC, that voted in the special recall election July 16th, 2011, that recalled Amber Topah and her posse. We are an extension from that has grown bigger in number. And we have never, ever walked away from that vote. We have never said that vote didn't count. We have always stood our ground. And we're standing with it today. And that ground is going to be stood on until that vote is acted on and those people are out of there. And we will be taking that action, taking the next step very, very soon. Yes, I know I have mentioned before that I'm going to call a resume of the meeting, because not to forget that our meeting is still open, and it's going to stay open until this mess is cleaned up. You know, we were declared to be the general council standing, and that's just how it is. But we have also taken some actions ourselves, you know, as the majority, as the general council standing. And one of those actions is we have declared the Kiowa Constitution to be unconstitutional. That doesn't mean that we want to ruin the Constitution, change the Constitution into anything else, and we definitely are not part of Henry Ware's group, this Kiowa Tribal Constitution revision, or whatever they're calling themselves, trying to bring in a whole complete new Constitution. And we're not even going to really worry about them, because anything like that is going to have to be voted on by the majority of the KIC to be implemented or anything like that, and that's just not going to happen for them. It just isn't going to happen. The Constitution we have now, it's just fine, except it needs some minor amendments. I'll give you an example. I tried to give them an example, you know, tried to give them the example, and I get accused of wanting to mess up our Constitution and change things. Tommy Leader sits there and says, I like the Constitution just the way it is. It doesn't need to be changed. Well, all right, go on in there today and take over that dang complex. Get in there and take your position, and then tomorrow let somebody recall you. Because guess what? That's what that Constitution allows to happen. It doesn't matter if it's a legitimate reason to be recalled or not. You see, that's an amendment that needs to be made to that Constitution. And we all know the saying. You know, you have a right to amend, but you do not have a right to destroy. And we are not trying to destroy, but we need to amend. We need to shut those doors that keep letting people walk in and turn things upside down on us and cause this turmoil that we're in. All of my fellow Kiowas out there, my male fellow Kiowas, if you are a true Kiowa, a warrior, stand up and protect your family. Protect your wife. Protect your children. Protect your elders. Protect your future as the Kiowa people that we know today. Protect your water rights, your mineral rights, and your land rights. Protect what rightfully belongs to you. And quit letting people strip it away from you. Quit letting people take your vote. Quit letting people take your voices and your rights away from you. Not to mention all of your money. Right now, we have an opportune moment that we need to take advantage of. We can't wait around no longer to do this. We need to do this now. I have not asked you all for anything. Everything that I have done, I've done on my own dime and my own time. I don't get assistance from the tribe. I have not gotten any assistance from the tribe. The only thing I get from the tribe is my car tag. And I pay for that. Only thing I've ever asked, you know, I'm not asking for big legal fees, you know, that these attorneys get. Amos Black gets $10,000 a month, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars when he does something acting like he's going to file this and file that, you know. Sometimes they'll sit there and pay millions of dollars to attorneys. Yeah, millions. And all I'm asking for is printer paper, ink, pens, legal pads, and stamps to mail things. That's it. I spend my own money, you know, filed a class action lawsuit when the BIA helped Amber Topaw and her posse, Ron Two Hatchet, you know. When the BIA helped them stay into office, we filed a class action lawsuit that I headed, and it was against the recall group and the BIA. Well, it was dismissed and they cited tribal sovereignty, you know. So Amber and them got away with that one. But BIA, that lawsuit can be brought back up against them. And I'm telling you, that's why they backed off. That's why they put space between themselves and Amber and her posse. There's a trust issue there, though. And it's just like the letters stated that Dan Deeringwater had given to the tribe. There's contracts that they have, those 638 programs. You know, all those contracts but 2 of them expired. They no longer have those 638 programs. The monies for the 2 that had not expired had already been dispersed. They can't take that back. You know, so that's pretty well explained. You know, but they were still wrong. The BIA was still wrong for interfering like that and letting them stay in there like that when they had no jurisdiction to do that. They overstepped their bounds. But the BIA doesn't have to continue to be wrong, you see. So we can't be wrong ourselves, and we have to understand where the true battle is at. And our battle is fighting for equal protections and due process of the law under the Constitution of the United States. But the main point of this video is just to let you know what was going on in that meeting that they held. And it was just a waste. It was a joke. And there's absolutely no support for those people. They're on their own. They're going to have to be on their own. The governing body does not support them. So they're very dangerous people when they act like that, and they you know, want to. There's no transparency with what they're doing. They're holding pre-meetings before meetings, and then they want to hold meetings without anybody else and not tell anybody what they're doing until after the fact. You know. So that is something that you guys need to think about before you think about giving support to somebody like that really doesn't even care about you. All they're worried about is getting in there, saying I'm in this position, and trying to take a stick of butter, grease up those KCOA casino people and the BIA over there, grease them up with the stick of butter and hope that they get some money out of them. That's not what we need to be supporting, and that's not what we're going to do. So I will be in touch with you more, especially now we are going to take the next step ourselves upon the many steps that we have already taken. And I will get more into that again, remind you what those steps were and where we're at today. But we're going to take a step that's going to finally put a lid on this and put an end to all this turmoil once and for all. And we're going to get those safeguards. We're going to get our accountability. We'll get those checks and balances. And we'll get stability, safety, and prosperity for the Kiowa people as a whole. I hope.